Good morning. The time is 10:33. My name is Richard Williams. I'm going to call the Kane County Development Committee to order. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Arroyo,
Oh, here.
Doherty,
Doherty here.
thank you. Garcia,
Garcia here and Zoom.
Linder,
Linda here.
B. Leonard,
Leonard here.
Iqbal,
Iqbal here, present.
Williams,
Williams present.
Roth.
Roth here.
We have remote attendance request from Mr. Doherty and Ms. Garcia. Is there any objection?
No objections, Mr. Chairman.
Seeing none, they will be permitted to participate.
Thank you.
I'd entertain a motion for the approval of the November 18th, 2025 minutes.
Roy, make a motion to accept, ask consent to accept the minutes for the.
Arroyo asks for unanimous consent. Is there any objection? Seeing none, the minutes are approved. We have speakers signed up for public comment. We will be calling you up if you are not on a zoning petition. If you're here on a zoning petition, you may speak during that matter. Steve Leffler.
Good morning, Steve Leffler, St. Charles. I'm here to speak today on TMP 25-1534, the noise abatement issue matter. In St. Charles, we have, and I live in downtown St. Charles, we have a lot of issues with loud vehicles coming into our city and hanging out. A lot of young men. I used to do the same sort of thing. Many of you probably did too. Well, we have loud cars. We like loud cars. And well, those loud cars seem to come from elsewhere in the county and come to our city very often. Doing so, they pass through unincorporated county lands. And when they're doing so, their mufflers are violating state statutes. And I'd like for that to get enforced. Just want to read for everybody, ILCS 625 ILCS 5/12-602, mufflers, prevention of noise. Every motor vehicle driven or operated upon the highways of the state shall at all times be equipped with an adequate muffler or exhaust system in constant operation and properly maintained to prevent any excessive or unusual noise. No such muffler or exhaust system shall be equipped with a cutout, bypass, or similar device. No person shall modify the exhaust system of a motor vehicle in a manner which will amplify or increase the noise of such vehicle above that emitted by the muffler originally installed on the vehicle, and such original muffler shall comply with all the requirements of this section. Being somebody who was in the automotive business for 35 years, I saw an awful lot of these modified mufflers come into my shop, and the young men who were getting them installed, or however they were going about doing it, we weren't doing it, but they were doing it specifically to annoy us old guys, and they're successful every time. Anyway, if anything can be done about this, that'd be fantastic. Thanks.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Ms. Susan Blasek. Ms. Blasek, you'll have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Susan Blesick, and I am reading a statement from neighbors who could not be here today. We are relatively new homeowners on this street, and we wish to formally express a concern that has become increasingly significant since our purchase. When we bought our home, we were drawn to this area because of its quiet residential and country-like character. Like many buyers, our focus was on the property itself and the overall feel of the neighborhood and sense of security. Since moving in, we have been disappointed to discover that a large property on the street is being operated as a short-term rental, resulting in a steady turnover of unfamiliar visitors. The frequent presence of strangers, increased traffic, and activity inconsistent with a residential neighborhood have materially altered the environment we believe we were purchasing into. These concerns are not personal, but practical. Safety. A constant rotation of unknown guests diminishes the sense of familiarity and security typically expected in a residential setting, particularly for families and children. Quality of life. Noise, parking congestion, and elevated traffic levels detract from the peaceful atmosphere that originally defined the area. Property values and resale. Many prospective buyers seek stability and predictability in a neighborhood. The presence of a large short-term rental may act as a deterrent and negatively impact long-term resale values of surrounding homes. Community cohesion. Long-term residents invest in relationships and stewardship of their neighborhood. Transient occupancy undermines that shared sense of responsibility. This statement is offered respectfully and with the intent of preserving the character and livability of a neighborhood that was reasonably expected to be quiet, residential, and stable at the time of purchase. Sincerely, Josh and Stephanie Patton. The ordinance you are considering is designed to address the peripheral effects of an STR, but it does nothing to address the root problem, which is the irreconcilable conflict of interest that exists between resident homeowners and the STR business model. Actual residents like Josh and Stephanie Patton choose the place they want to live, raise their kids, and eventually retire specifically because it was safe, tranquil, and cohesive. While the STR business model thrives on flooding neighborhoods with an endless stream of transient, unvetted, and unfamiliar people. We believe that these opposing interests cannot be artificially regulated into compatibility. My neighbor, Deanna Davison, who lives immediately next door to an STR, is going to be highlighting questions that we have been seeking answers to for months. We have been respectful of you and of the work that you have been doing throughout this process, and we ask that you in kind respect our concerns and speak to them directly in your dialogue later this session before any action is taken on this ordinance proposal. We have provided a printed list of these questions for anyone who requires them. Thank you. 4 seconds left.
Thank you.
Here's the questions. Would you like to?
Our next speaker will be Deanna Davison. Good morning, Ms. Davison. You have 3 minutes.
Good morning. Thank you so much. I do have questions. Some of them I understand might wind up being a moot point based on the conversations that may take place today. I kind of hope that they are, but I'm going to just go ahead and read them to you so that I don't miss any of them. My first question is, if Lake County can define an STR exactly the same way as we do, a rental contract of fewer than 30 days, but yet classify it as a transient lodging commercial enterprise, why can't we? Or why don't we? Second question. Right now, STRs operating in unincorporated Kane County are absorbing all the risk of doing so. They've never received authorization from you. They're operating in the shadows. We've been told you don't even know where they exist. So the moment this ordinance passes, the risk shifts from the property owners to the county. Existing STRs will immediately be insulated from any modifications you may wish to make in the future, and you will make the county more vulnerable to potential litigation than it is now. So my question is, why is boxing ourselves in with this ordinance and perpetuating the headache of enforcing it preferable to simply eliminating the problem now while the county has the upper hand? Next question. The unintended consequence of this ordinance is that it becomes a permission slip for a limitless number of STRs to now open and operate freely wherever they want to. What is to prevent private, corporate, and even foreign investors from now buying up single-family homes en masse, since you are effectively providing your stamp of approval to the operation of STRs in residential areas? Finally, my last question. If you were in the market to buy a house and had the choice between my house, which sits immediately next door to a 4,400 square foot Airbnb, or the same house in a peaceful, quiet neighborhood 3 miles away, which would you choose? Regardless of how well behaved the STR is, or how hard I try to convince a potential buyer of that, my house is going to remain on the market longer than comparable homes in my area, which will likely require me to lower my asking price, all to protect the business interests of an absentee property owner who contributes nothing to the well-being of the community. So my question is simple. How is this right? Not how does the state's attorney's office rationalize it, but how is it right that homeowners like me who build our communities, in some cases over generations, are forced to subsidize with our long-term property value the profit margins of a short-term rental? We're being asked to absorb a significant loss to our quality of life every day that an STR exists within our community, And when we leave, we're being asked to absorb a significant loss to the value of our property. We believe that that entitles us to answers to these questions before a vote is called to order. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Ken Shepro.
Ken Shepro, local historian, with today's semi-quincentennial minute. On this date, on December 16th, we're going to go back now to 1773. 3 ships, the Eleanor, the Dartmouth, and the Beaver, were docked in Boston, and they had been prevented from unloading their cargo, which happened to be 340 chests of tea that were shipped by the East India Company under a monopoly granted to bail the East India Company out of what was perhaps impending bankruptcy. That night, there was a meeting at the South Meeting House in which there was a message from the Lieutenant Governor, acting governor of Massachusetts, that if the tea were not allowed to be unloaded by the next day, the ships and their cargo would be forfeit to the crown. So as a result, Sam Adams got up, said this meeting can do nothing more to save the company, followed by cries of to the ships, kill the tea. And a bunch of Mohawk warriors who were actually disguised Sons of Liberty went aboard the 3 ships. The only damage that they did to the ship was a broken padlock of the captain's chest, which was promptly restored the next day by the Sons of Liberty. However, they did throw overboard 340 chests containing approximately 46 tons of tea, valued by the East India Company at 9,659 pounds sterling, which in today's money is apparently about $1.8 million. And according to people with really very little else to do, calculated that that tea would have made 18,523,000 cups of tea. That was the Boston Tea Party. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody here who wishes to address the Development Committee on a non-zoning matter? Okay. The monthly financials and reports are in your packages. Oh, Mr. Leonard.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, did we want to approve the minutes from the November 18th meeting?
Oh, we did.
They
Oh,
were
we did.
approved.
Yes.
Thank you.
Are there any questions on the monthly reports? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to Building and Zoning Division. Mr. Van Kerkhoff?
Good morning. I'm happy to report that we are fully staffed with our building team of admin, plan reviewers, inspectors. We're still seeing some very large homes coming in for construction and permitting. We've also been working with City View to have our your recently adopted increase in building permit fees. So they are ready to implement on January 1st as well. Other than that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you have before we move on to the zoning petition.
Any questions for Mr. Van Kerkhoff? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to our first zoning petition. Our first matter is TMP 25-1538. Petitioner is Franco Pelagio.
Good morning. Thank
Second.
you. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
All right. This first zoning petition is actually a minor variance to an original special use permit that was issued back in 2022. The applicant is Mr. Franco Pelagio. He's the business owner of Solus Enterprise LLC, which is the property owner. This is at 11 North 323 Brookside Drive in Elgin. And again, as I stated, this is a minor variance to a special use. Here you can see the location map. We are up in Elgin Township. This property is adjacent to the city of Elgin, as well as some unincorporated Kane County properties. Here we can see an aerial map This is an aerial from October 2nd of 2025, so it's pretty recent. Here's a close-up of the subject property. You can see there's one existing building and then some outdoor storage. Again, the special use back in 2022 was approved to bring the property into compliance. So this is all currently legal. Here we have our zoning map showing the underlying B3 zoning district with a special use. This is the original site plan that was approved. And you can see that one-story building. This is the new site plan that they're proposing. They're requesting one additional building, another steel frame building. It meets all of the required setbacks and will just allow the property owner to store some of the outdoor equipment inside. This is the letter that they provided in their request that was provided in your packets. So as I said, the new building meets all required setbacks for the zoning district. The Water Resources Department did review this proposal and indicated that the proposed change is just adding impervious to already impervious area, and that the owner has obtained a stormwater permit to address the impervious on site that was all recently completed and approved, and therefore Water Resources has no objection to this request. KDOT also reviewed the proposal and indicated that since this is in the city of Elgin's roadway jurisdiction, they have no comments. No comments from the health department, and the Pingree Grove and Countryside Fire Protection District reviewed the proposal and also had no objections. This is a cold storage equipment building. If it were to have heat or offices, they might need additional review, but that's not being proposed here. And then finally, the city of Elgin originally didn't provide comments, but they did provide comments, and that's on the next slide. So the city of Elgin does not have an objection to the new building, but they expressed their preference that the building meet their architectural and building standards, as well as some additional landscaping. So I won't read through all of these codes, but these are the codes that they reference that it would be their preference that the building comply with. And then they also previously had requested 5 deciduous trees and 72 shrubs and some other landscaping. However, that was not implemented at the time of the previous special use, so they reiterated it again here. But again, I didn't include any of these as stipulations because it's really up to you all if you'd like to include any stipulations in regards to the city of Elgin's comments. But as this is a minor variance, this did not go in front of the Zoning Board of Appeals, and it will not go to the full Kane County Board. The decision lies wholly on this committee to approve or deny the request or to add any stipulations of approval, unless you'd like further analysis in which you can push it back to the zoning board. And that's essentially what this slide says, is just that the decision lies with you guys, and that if you do approve it, that will allow them to apply for their building permit. And that's it.
Okay. Could I have a motion to approve for discussion purposes?
Roy moves.
Iqbal seconds.
Moved by Arroyo, seconded by Iqbal. Before we open it up to the committee, I have a couple questions, Natalie. So the city of Elgin can regulate architectural standards.
Yes.
The county cannot.
We don't have anything in our zoning ordinance that specifically requires it. A special use request, you have the freedom to add stipulations of approval however you choose, as long as they're reasonable and within the scope. But there are no architectural requirements in the zoning ordinance for Kane County.
So respect the requests of the city of Elgin on architectural. I don't think it would be appropriate for us to do that in this case. And then the other thing, let's talk about the landscaping. I think we should consider some additional landscaping. So those are my comments.
I concur with Mr. Chairman.
Pardon me,
I concur with you.
Mr. Tepe?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This area is in my district, and this property owner has owned the property for just a few years, took over a piece of property that was somewhat of an eyesore and really improved it and did a good job with it. Okay. This is in a little pocket that is completely surrounded by the city of Elgin, but is still unincorporated. Okay. And my point is that this property owner has done a pretty decent job so far. And I think if you ask him to do things, he'll try to comply. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Does anybody have any interest in adding to the stipulations? Okay.
No.
Called question.
Arroyo,
Oh, yes.
Doherty. Mr. Doherty.
Come on, there you go. Doherty, yes.
Thank you. Garcia,
Garcia, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Tepe,
Tepe, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Williams.
Williams, yes. Our next item is petition number 4674. There's an objection filed by this Village of Sugar Grove. For that reason, I'm going to recuse myself from participating in this discussion. And I would ask your indulgence to turn the matter over to Dr. Iqbal to handle this matter as temporary chair. Is there any objection?
Nope.
Okay.
Good morning. This is a petition number 4674. The petitioner is. Microphone, please. Oh, it's not working. It is working, okay. Yeah, the petitioner is CFBIL Blue Stem Solar LLC. Is anyone from the petitioner? There is one speaker there. May I request Natalie to introduce this project, please?
Happy to, thank you. So this is zoning petition 4674 by CFP Illinois Bluestem Solar LLC. We've got another commercial solar project for you. As always, this is a special use permit request in the F district for the development of a commercial solar project. The property is approximately 80 acres located on the south side of Prairie Street, east of Gordon Road in Sugar Grove Township, Kane County. Here you can see the location map. That's a general outline of the subject property. We have all of the Kane County ag land to the south and west. We do border Sugar Grove and the city of Aurora and are close as well to the village of Montgomery. Again, this is south of Prairie Road, north of Jericho Road, and east of Sugar Grove Parkway, or Route 47. Here we have an aerial and closer up, giving you an idea of the surrounding area, mostly farmland, subdivision to the east. Closer still. Here's that roadway frontage. This is the King County zoning map. The white is the F district farming, and then you can see the hashed areas are Sugar Grove, Montgomery, and Aurora. This is in the critical growth area of the 2040 conceptual land use strategy and is in the resource management category. Here you can see that map again showing all of that blue area is resource management and the gray is Sugar Grove and Aurora. This site does fall within the land use jurisdiction of the future land use jurisdiction of the Village of Sugar Grove, which classifies this property as agriculture undeveloped in their 2023 comprehensive future land use plan. We did hear back from all three municipalities. The city of Aurora had no objections to the project. They are requesting a 20-foot right-of-way dedication that the petitioner has agreed to, and Aurora will be the roadway jurisdiction from which they get all of their access permits. Other than that, they were fine with the project. The Village of Montgomery also had no objection to the project. They just showed some concern with or questions regarding the future extension of Gordon Road, which the petitioner, I think, will address in their comments later. And then the Village of Sugar Grove was the only municipality that did object to the project. They provided their formal letter and resolution that were both provided online for your review. This is very similar to the previous solar project we just reviewed, the Prairie Solar Project. It's in the same general area, also very close to Sugar Grove, Montgomery and Aurora. Very similar project and the same petitioner. So I included links to the public comment that we received. One of the nearby land owners, the ASF Corporation and Silverbrook Farms, submitted their objection letter, the Sugar Grove, and then we did receive a response from the petitioner responding to the Sugar Grove objection, as well as a letter of support from the property owner. I included a few slides just as a visual of the Sugar Grove 2023 comp plan, just highlighting where the project is and showing that in this plan, at least, this area is slated for agriculture or undeveloped according to their future land use plan. And then this map, it's kind of hard to see, but I tried to highlight where the Gordon Road. This is the Gordon Road extension in their comp plan. And this is more or less how it would extend over the aerial showing the project area. So it is nearby, but as the petitioner will explain, I don't believe that the solar project will interfere with the future extension of Gordon Road. Here's the site plan. This is another co-location solar project. So it's 15 megawatts total, 3 5-megawatt projects, but all under the same owner petitioner. The project complies with all required setbacks. And just as a reminder, there's nothing in our zoning ordinance that prohibits the co-location of these projects. The 5-megawatt structure is really more an element of financial constraints and considerations than it is the zoning ordinance specific. Couple slides showing distances to the nearest residential areas. They have a pretty good distance, over 750 feet to the nearest residential property to the east there, and then approximately 1,300 feet away from that subdivision to the north. Here's their landscape and vegetation plan. Little closer detail, I just highlighted in green so you could see easier the proposed trees. And here's that detail. I did include our sort of go-to stipulation for vegetation in the staff recommended stipulations. their fence detail. This is the same agricultural, not tie fence. This fence is what's recommended by both Water Resources and for the purpose of, water flow, as well as from the EcoCat report indicating that this type of fence is best suited for the movement of small wildlife. So that's why you see this fence in almost all of our solar projects, in case anyone was wondering. Here we have our standard 12 Water Resources stipulations. These are very common. All of our solar projects see these stipulations. It's more of a safety net than anything specific to this project. KDOT reviewed the petition and had no comments. Prairie Street is in the city of Aurora's jurisdiction, so the petitioner will get all of their access permits from the city of Aurora. No comments from Health. And then this project is also in the Sugar Grove Fire Protection District. So they added the same stipulation that they requested from our last solar petition, and that is that the petitioner agree to purchase any necessary fire protection equipment to allow the firefighters to reach the farthest solar panels that exceed 500 feet from the planned access roads. And that's a decision that they were okay with, that allowed the petitioner not to change their site plan or add additional roadways within the project. They submitted their EcoCat report, and the IDNR provided their standard elements of guidance, as well as the NRI report showing that there is some prime farmland on this tract. Total LISA score of 67, placing this in the low protection warranted area. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service responded to their project and suggested that there may be 4 threatened endangered species, but also notes that there are no critical habitats within the project area, and suggested a biological assessment to determine if the project would have any effects on the listed species. No state dedicated nature preserves in the area. We did receive the required AMA agreement, and no objections from the State Historic Preservation Office. So here's the total list of recommended stipulations. Again, we have the 12 from Water Resources, and then the one indicating access from access permits from the city of Aurora, our vegetation stipulation, a note that the required fencing should have a 6-inch gap. That's from the EcoCat, and then that fire protection district stipulation. So very similar to the last project that went through the process. Here are the special use standards. The zoning board reviewed this project at a public hearing on Tuesday, December 2nd. No one was in attendance from the public, but they did review the same objections that you were all provided from that landowner and the village of Sugar Grove. The ZBA adopted their findings of fact and voted to recommend approval of the zoning petition 6-0 with the recommended staff stipulations. And that concludes staff's report. The petitioner is here, happy to answer any questions. And then I also included the petitioner's PowerPoint as a point of reference. I thought that if anybody had questions about the Gordon Road issue, they had some good slides. So I included that for your information.
May I have a motion and a second before we have a comment?
Royal moves. Second, Linder.
Mr. Linder moves. Okay, sure. Yes, go ahead, Mr.
Okay, Natalie, do I understand that in all probability, any annexation of this spot would probably go to Aurora and not to Sugar Grove?
No, it's in Sugar Grove's future planning jurisdiction. So if it were to be annexed, it would go to Sugar Grove.
I wrote here, I guess you said if. Are they or they're not going to annex the land?
There's no guarantee. It's within their future land use plan, but you can't annex land that you're not adjacent to. So there, as far as I'm aware, there are no current plans to annex the property.
And in 20 years, we'll be here again. Oh, we don't want housing there.
But again, in their future land use plan, they show this area as agriculture undeveloped. So.
Mr. Leonard?
Thank you, Dr. Iqbal. Two questions. Number one, is this a 30-year contract?
I don't recall off the top of my head what their lease terms are, but typically with the solar projects, it's a 25 to 30-year lease. And in this project, the petitioner can answer this, but they may have an option to purchase. I can't recall off the top of my head.
And my second question is the large solar project that was approved just recently at the county board. How far away is that from this project?
Let's see if I can show you on the map.
Same area.
It is.
I think it's right next to it. Close.
So this is the project we're talking about right now. And the project that was just approved is about here. It's these 4 little squares.
Okay. Mr. Gripe?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. 4 questions, actually. On, yeah, this map is fine. Is that 1 parcel, 2 parcels, or 3 parcels?
It's 3 parcels.
Okay. Just curious, because if you look at the outside line, they're all contiguous. Why is it chopped into 3 pieces?
I'm not sure. I would have to look up the parcel history. But there may be section lines or there are a number of reasons why parcels can be split up or are split up. I wonder if. Yeah, so the line, this may be a section line right here. Because you can see in this map over here, this is split between 2 township sections. So that's probably one reason why there's more than 1 parcel. And then I'm not sure why those are split, but.
Interesting, because looking at this picture and the one on page 101, this is a perfect rectangle. The one on 101 isn't.
It's not. I'm sorry. I only have so much capability in a Word document. This is just to give you a general idea. It's not a perfect square.
Okay, but it'll all be solar panels.
Well, for
and
the most
supporting
part.
equipment, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Second question, different but related. F zoning, is that the only zoning category that's eligible for solar through this permit? As it seems that pretty much everything we see is zoned F now, farming.
Yeah,
That's the only
so
one, so I couldn't take anything else.
industrial allows for commercial solar, but there's very little available industrial land in unincorporated Kane County. That's why we're primarily seeing F district with special uses.
Okay, and this one you may not be able to answer here, so anytime we get an answer is fine. So the resource management land map that's referred to on page 101 says that this falls within the area of Kane County, blah, 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 the 2040 land use map. And I'm curious that at the current progression of solar properties being built, how much of Kane County or how many more do we project? And I know it's a guess, will be in solar by 2040.
And Mark may be able to answer that as well, but that's a really hard thing to predict because it really will come down to federal policy over the next several decades. It looks like right now with with the changes that have been made at the federal level, that the solar projects will probably slow down in the next 6 months. But they could pick back up again if policy changes in the future. So that's a really hard thing to
Yeah.
to estimate.
Might be interesting based on current policy, and I know it'll change, it's going to change, it might change. How much of Kane County is going to be under solar in 2040? Just curious, long-term thing. And the last question is, at the end of the 25 or 30-year period that's typical for a solar field, can the petitioner just walk away from this, or do they have to return it to its original condition, or what?
Yes, so every solar project is required to submit their executed AMA agreement. That's the Agricultural Impact Mitigation Agreement with the Illinois Department of Agriculture. That is a contract that basically says that they have to revert the land back to its original state. And if they, for any reason, fail to do so, that's why we have the decommissioning surety bonds, so that we can do it if they fail to.
Comma. One that related to that. Do we test the soil before they build it and then after they leave?
So I believe Director Walnick could speak to that. I do think that they have upped their game with the soil testing.
Yes, we have been in contact with Kane DuPage Soil and Water Conservation District, and they have some testing recommendations that we include in our petition requirements for soil testing. We looked at the time frame and the period in which testing is reasonable. And we're looking for the topsoil really to be rebuilt and that organic matter to increase over time. So through that testing that we have as part of our stipulation, we will get that data and looking to see how well over that 25, 30-year period our soil structure rebuilds itself.
So stipulation 8 says soil samples shall be taken every 5 years so that we can keep track of the changes.
We have Mr. Lenosi, if you want to add something.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm the lead developer here on the Blue Stem Solar Project. I just wanted to take this opportunity to provide some context about the project, specifically comments related to the local transportation plans. We're at kind of a nexus of many municipalities. There's 5 municipalities that were notified of the project. The Village of Sugar Grove was the only one that did object for reasons that we believe are unsubstantiated. Their reasons are almost identical to objections raised against the other solar project that was asked about and was approved last week by the board. To answer your questions, about a half mile away from this project. The Village of Sugar Grove's primary objections assert that solar farm will deter future residential development, which was mentioned here, and future plans for an extension of Gordon Road from Prairie Street to Jericho Road. But unfortunately, those objections really ignore some of the market realities here. Despite that, the road extension has been stuck in the concept phase for over 20 years. We still made accommodations here and are showing that our project will not impede it. So if you look at the slide that's presented, on the very left-hand side is an image from one of the conceptual maps that were provided to us, and shows a 4-lane highway that would have a right-of-way of 140 feet. Where there are definitive plans and they're limited, it shows that that top portion, the northern portion, is 70 feet from our property line. And then if you look at our property line being black there in the middle, and then the future Gordon Road extension in yellow. There's an additional 70 feet from our property line to our fence line, and then more of a buffer even between the fence line and the solar arrays themselves, which are the blue rectangles. When we spoke to the city of Aurora, their original request was to provide 20 feet right-of-way dedication along Prairie Street. They notified us of this transportation plan at that time and acknowledged, the exact location is difficult to determine for the extension. And the existing right-of-way would put the Gordon Road extension on the property to the west, which aligns with everything that we've determined here. So, another road construction challenge is the central pond on our property. And so we spoke to the Village of Montgomery just recently on December 3rd. This is a joint effort between the Village of Montgomery and Sugar Grove. And the Village of Montgomery's engineer acknowledged that they would not go through that pond or even have any of the right-of-way touching it. So that's 140 feet, and said, in that case, the road, if it ever is to be built, would be pushed further west even, and acknowledged that probably wouldn't happen for another 20 years and that really there's no funding for the road at this point. So, we have and we continue to make best efforts with the villages on this. We've asked both the Village of Montgomery and Sugar Grove if they'd like to propose a stipulation for the SUP award. They haven't submitted any to us yet. We're still open to it, but the bottom line is that our project will not hinder the road concept. The challenge for them is a lack of funding and limited demand for new residential development in the area. There's not accessible utilities. That's one of the contributing factors to that. Our solar project does not face those challenges. And so, we appreciate the opportunity to bring this project to life in the next 1 to 2 years. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comment online? Hearing none, would you please call the roll?
Yes.
Doherty,
Doherty, yes.
Garcia,
Garcia, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Tepe,
Tepe, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, no.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
I'm sorry. It passes with 1 no.
Mr. William?
Okay. Moving on, Property Code Enforcement Division, Mr. Mall.
Good morning, John Mall, King County Code Enforcement Officer. We remain fully staffed and busy last month. We prepared a statistical monthly report, which is attached to this packet, and additionally prepared a more detailed monthly report, which we've been doing for several months now, which was emailed directly to all of you. We continue to receive positive feedback from both those reports, so we'll continue to send those out to you. I don't have anything further, and I'll turn this over to Mark Van Kerkhoff, our Development Director, to introduce the proposed ordinances.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mark Van Kerkhoff. We have a trio of proposed ordinances for you to consider that we've been working on with Mr. Williams, Mr. Gripe, with our state's attorney's office to address some various concerns that have arrived. Some of those you heard this morning. I do apologize. We had a couple changes with the packet, which we'll go through as we go through these ordinances. The first one, we have a new Exhibit A for the ordinance, proposed ordinance requiring licensing for short-term rentals. Mr. Mall is going to pass those out. That's a result of some additional revision comments from Mr. Iqbal, as well as then some refining of those comments with myself from the state's attorney's office. Mr. Mall will provide those as well as to our interested folks as well. And Blair, if you could put that one up. Actually, this is the later one, the last one. There's another one that I had sent with a red line. I'm really challenging Blair today. So thank you for your patience. There's a third one that has red text in it. And I will note with the comments that were given at the prior to the meeting, this ordinance continues along the line of licensing requirements and restrictions to contain and restrict some of the concerns that staff and Mr. Gripe have heard from neighbors you've heard in public comment to hold it down to is close to a regular stable single family occupancy. On there, a moratorium or a ban would be entirely different ordinance and an issue which we don't have prepared or on the table this morning. So happy to, discuss the features of the licensing and restriction route. If you would like this morning, some of the changes that we've added since the last draft that you saw, some further refinement on the parking restrictions that would prohibit campers, RVs, food trucks, portable saunas, portable spas, other trailers to be parked on the property, as well as some more refinements on just some of the information needed to be provided for the licensing.
Motion? Would we,
Well,
I'll resend it, Blair.
a motion, Mr. Linder?
yeah, I want to discuss, so I'll make the motion to approve.
Motion to approve ordinance amending chapter 2 administration, article 9, section 2-320, correct?
Yes.
Motion by Linder, seconded by
Royal second.
Roy. Okay, we are now in discussion. Mr. Linder, floor is yours.
I am in total sympathy with the residents who are frustrated by this. And having read through what we've prepared, it's going to take care of a lot of that, but not all of it. The idea of having strangers in your neighborhood is not something that is part of this policy or could be. If we were so inclined, and this is just an if question, could we, through the zoning ordinance, prohibit the short-term rentals in certain zoning categories? Or
I'm going to invite Mr. Ford to maybe have a seat here with us, but so we've looked at that. We've talked about that. And I'm sympathetic to these people too. I mean, I feel bad for them, and we're trying to give the sheriff's office a toolkit, and that's what the other ordinances are for, to help with these issues. There's a couple problems from a legal perspective. The first is if a ban is even allowed, and I think it's questionable whether a ban like Lake County has is even allowable. But if we were to do something like this, that would not alleviate the problem that the folks in the audience are having. Because what has happened here is that they have, the owner of that property has vested its rights as it relates to, short-term rentals for single-family purposes. Now, I think we'll talk a little bit more about how some of these Airbnbs are being used and whether those are even in conformance with our current zoning laws. But if somebody is operating an Airbnb out of their home for single-family purposes, and we were to do a ban, their rights are vested. We can't stop them from doing it anymore. I deal with this all the time in my zoning practice. If we were to stop them from doing that, that would be an unconstitutional taking, subjecting the county to legal exposure for violating their rights. If there were, if a ban is legal, that would apply to somebody who is not already engaged in this activity. So I'll let Mr. Ford elaborate a little bit more on that.
Thank you, Chair Williams. ASA Stephen Ford. In addition to what the chair said, if the county were to explore some type of prohibition, it would have to flow from our zoning powers. In terms of enforcement, a prohibition would still be complaint driven and would rely on many of the same remedies that are provided for in this ordinance, including a provision that was added, which gives our office the power to go to court if someone is violating the ordinance, to seek an injunction to get them to stop the use of that property. So it would still, enforcement would look the same. The other thing I noted, if the county does implement a ban, and if it were challenged, the county would need to show that the ban was reasonable in light of other options, which could be a licensing program. And through our research, one thing we've seen, and, you know, Mr. Van Kerkhoff, I think some of his colleagues have seen this as well, is that surrounding counties are moving towards a licensing program in order to regulate the use and also provide an enforcement mechanism for people who are not compliant. A licensing program would allow compliant owners to still operate while still providing the county a mechanism to hold a license of people who are in violation of the ordinance, impose fines, and then again, allow the state's attorney's office to file an action where appropriate to stop the use or provide other, seek other relief that may be appropriate based on how the property is being used.
So one of the questions that we heard from the audience, or maybe I talked to Mr. Gripe about this, is, you know, if a business is buying single-family homes and renting them out, how can that be? Well, it's not who owns the property, it's what the use is, okay? So if I want to form an LLC and buy a couple homes in Kane County, unincorporated Kane County, and I want to rent them either short-term or long-term, as long as I am renting them to individuals who are using the property in accordance with the zoning code, that is allowed. So if I have an Airbnb, I can rent it out to a single family for a weekend or a month or a year. What we are discovering is that there are homes out there that are being rented out for parties, okay? And that is different. And that is not a single family use. That's, if you're renting a house, a 14,000 square foot home, I think in John's district came up, that is being rented out as a party house. We didn't know about it. That is not a single family use. We can stop that right now if we want to, because that's violating the zoning code. So what this short-term licensing ordinance does, it gives us a toolkit to find out who's licensed or who's renting their property out, make sure that it's safe, make sure that they're operating the property in a prudent manner. And they couldn't have a big party under this ordinance. They would be limited to what, 16 people, I think, is that right?
Yeah, the occupancy limit, it's 2 people, 2 guests per bedroom. And then in no event can you exceed 16 people. So there is a limit on how many guests can be in one of these properties built into the ordinance.
And John, how many complaints are we receiving about these types of uses?
We've received a couple. We're past a handful over the past couple of years.
Okay. Mr. Leonard?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, I'm not well versed in this area, so the question may be easy for you to answer, but I don't understand it. If I own my home in an unincorporated area of Kane County and I rent it to someone for the weekend, I understand they can only have up to 16 people there. Number one, how do you know if they're having more or less than 16 people? And number two, in my own personal residence, if I'm in a municipality or whatever, and I have a party at my house, I'm not limited to those same restrictions, am I?
To the second question, this would only apply in unincorporated Kane County, depending on how the municipality, if they've decided
Let's
to
say
regulate
my
this.
house is in an unincorporated area of Kane County. I live there and I decide to have a party and have 50 people. Am I allowed to do that?
So a short-term rental is defined as going through a hosting platform. So giving a general answer to your specific question, you would have to, it applies to people going through a hosting platform that have gotten a license. At that point, the occupancy limit kicks in and you can't exceed that threshold. And it does rely on a complaint-driven process. People, lodging a complaint with the county going out, verifying, and then one of the violation procedures could kick in.
I think I understand what you're saying. I guess my question is, let's say I have a house in an unincorporated area of Kane County. I rent it out to someone for a weekend, a month, or a year. And one night during that period of time that they're renting it, they have a party. They are limited to 16 people. Is that correct?
No, more than 60.
16.
Unless they apply for a special event permit.
Yes.
Okay. So let's say they do not. And then let's say it's a 30-day rental. They have a party and there are 30 people there. How is that enforced? And who do you call at that point to enforce it if you're a neighbor and you don't want parties in those homes?
Sure. So those, and as well as the other ordinances on your agenda this morning, we'd be depending on evidence either from the people complaining, but most likely, the best evidence that we have in these types of cases have been from the sheriff's office in responding to a complaint, providing us with an approximate count of, whether or not it exceeds, the number that's limited, that included in the report. And then with this additional tool of having licensing for these short-term rentals gives us the ability to suspend or revoke the license, thus preventing them from continuing their business of the short-term rentals, on the property. So it gives us an additional enforcement tool for that.
So can I answer that too?
Yes.
So to give you an example, if there's a problem on Borough Court and there's a bus that's bringing people there, okay, and there's a complaint and the sheriff shows up, the deputy can ask for entry to the home and he can count the people. Or if a complaining witness counts 30 people get off the bus, and report that to the sheriff. If the sheriff writes a citation, that goes to trial. The complaining witness could come to court and testify. I counted 30 people getting off a bus and going in the home. That would be sufficient proof.
So then the owner of that residence that was renting it out would lose his or her right to rent it out on short-term basis if they violated that 60-person party agreement?
So taking a step back, kind of in the example you've given, the ordinance requires a license to operate a short-term rental. If you are operating a short-term rental, well, under the ordinance, if you are engaging in conduct such that you're operating a short-term rental without a license, you are subject to a fine of it's $1,000 fine. So if you're doing that without a license, subject to a fine, in addition to the other remedies set forward. In talking about assuming that the person has a license, if you're going forward, then it would work out that way. And it could be the director of the department revoking, it could be the issuance of a fine, or it could be our office coming in, file an action to get injunctive relief to stop you from, or stop the person from operating in this manner.
So if they have a license, it's more restrictive. If they just do it, rent it to someone without a license, it's not as restrictive?
Provided that their conduct is effectively, if they're operating a short-term rental without a license, Section 9B provides that they may be subject to a fine not to exceed $1,000 a day. So presumably that would be the penalty levied.
They could rent their home through Airbnb without getting a license. And if we found out about it, they would be penalized pursuant to this ordinance. They would not be allowed to do future rentals until, in that situation, until they applied for and were granted a license, and then they have to comply with the terms of the license agreement. So it covers people who apply for the license and it covers those who don't apply for the license.
And the fine for people that do not apply for a license is $1,000 for that day? Up to $1,000.
Up to, the cap is $1,000.
Okay. And that's just for the day of the party or when they have all the people there?
It's each day a violation occurs.
So each party.
Could be a
or
fine
each-
up to
yeah.
$1,000.
Okay.
So if you rented your house without a license for a week and there was an issue and you were cited, you could face up to $7,000 in fines.
So it's for every day of
Every
the
day
rental.
is a separate violation.
But if you only have one party one day, would it just apply to that one day?
Well, in the situation that I was using, the fact that you are renting it without the license is a violation, right? If you are renting it with a license and you have a party in excess of 16 people, then it would be that one day.
Great. I appreciate the explanation. Gives me a better idea. So ultimately, if I'm a neighbor and my neighbor has a license or doesn't have a license, and they have a party with more than 16 people with a license, you have to call the sheriff's department to enforce that. Is that correct?
Correct. And there's the license part of it, right? I'm assuming if they have a party, they're probably going to be violating our sound ordinance. I'll get to you in a second, Mr. Right? So the sheriff can write a violation for violating short-term licensing ordinance. He can write a sheriff for sound issues. Mr. Gripe?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Great questions. And I think this addresses, first of all, this problem affects, to my unofficial research, every commissioner in this room, except Mr. Linder. I haven't been able to find any in the district he represents, but all of us have some kind of Airbnb, VRBO, something like that in the district. At any rate, so it's out there. That's not to say it's a problem. But what I like about this is that, for instance, if I have a birthday party at my house, I don't have to get a permit unless it's a big one, special use permit, and stop me, guys, if I'm wrong here, because I'm not renting anything. I'm not charging anything for this. So can people still have parties at their houses? Absolutely. If it's a big party, I should get a special use permit.
Over 100.
Over 100. There you go. I don't have 100 friends, so it's not going to be a problem. The second thing is that this will allow neighbors to continue to be neighborly if they do this, but it's when they step out of that and act as uncaring business owners that this resolution can start to have an effect. If they're too noisy, if they have commercial vehicles on the property, food trucks. We actually saw a sauna, hot tub thing on the property, this kind of stuff. And the limitation in this series of a rental is no more than 2 per bedroom with a maximum of 16. So if I have 1 bedroom, I can't rent that house to more than 2 people without being potentially in violation of this. Now, all this being said, we now neighbors have lots of tools to be able to address people who aren't acting neighborly, right? But it's the squeaky wheel that's going to get the grease. So, but speed limits are much the same thing. If the speed limit says 55 and I decide, well, I would never do this, of course, but that I'm going to drive 80 and there's no cop sitting there with radar, there's no, something like that, unless somebody discovers it and turns me in, it's not going to happen. So this will take the same kind of neighbors noticing that there's party buses, that there's food trucks, that there's 100 people at the house, that kind of thing. But I think it gives the county the ability to regulate this so that Kane County, unincorporated Kane County, stays the way our constituents want it.
Mr. Iqbal?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I think Mr. Leonard has raised a good question. As I see, there are three categories of people here that we have to deal with. One is the owner, the property owner. Another one would be a long-term lessee or tenant, the third one would be short-term. I haven't seen the long-term lease requirement or a rental ordinance. In Elgin, there is one. There's a if you want to rent something, whether it's an apartment building or a house, there you have to get a permit for a rental unit. The house becomes a rental unit, and then you need a permit from the city. Now, this is the third category is coming, it's a short term. Now, we are emphasizing or concentrating on the short term, but I'd like to know, do we have anything in the long term? Is there any prohibition to rent one's property in Kane County as a long term?
So you're asking whether we
More than a
regulate
year or a
more
year.
than 30 days on?
More than 30 days, yeah.
I don't believe we do, Mr. Van Kerkhoff, do you know?
No, we do not have a rental licensing program for long-term rentals or any rentals currently. So this one introduces a specific ordinance for the short-term rental as a licensing program. So maybe we don't have one for the longer term. We do have in an unincorporated area, especially since the mid-90s, a lot of homeowners associations that might prohibit leasing a home as part of their covenants and restrictions, which the county is not party to, nor do we enforce. But for instance, the neighborhood I live in, that's in our bylaws or in the HOA bylaws.
Then the question is, should we have some rental regulations, non-short terms, long terms?
Do we have the authority, I'm assuming, Mr. Ford, right?
That would be the first question is, do we have the authority to regulate that type of activity? Happy to do the research and that and follow up with you, Dr. Iqbal, or with the chair.
So we can look into that. Why don't we have Mr. Ford research that for us?
Good, thank you. Yeah, Elgin has it. Elgin has a landlord program, rental program, and the landlords are given training how to screen tenants, how to be a good landlord.
I would also, you raise a good point, Mr. Van Kerkhoff, and I made a note of this earlier is, and I don't know if the folks in the audience have covenants in their community, but a lot of communities have covenants that prohibit short-term rentals. And if they do have covenants, then they can, and it doesn't have that prohibition, they can amend their covenants by going through a process. And that might be something that they want to consider doing, and a lot of communities do. But that would not, we would, that would just prohibit it outright, and that's a private restriction.
Correct.
Hi, this is Ted Penesis online.
Yes, Mr. Penesis.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. To Dr. Iqbal's point, I don't know, some of you may be aware that there was a shooting in my district in an unincorporated area that was longer term rental. It was like a yearly rental. So Mr. Ford, if there's something you could look into regarding the longer term rental, yearly rentals, as far as that goes, I'd very much be interested in seeing if there's something that we could do. These are problem tenants, and trying to figure out a way that the neighbors can kind of address the issue there. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or anyone want to make a comment? Mr. Van Kerkhoff?
I just want to add, since the topic came up of having a rental licensing program for any, the county's been aware for many decades that City of Aurora, City of Elgin have those programs, and we have been asked from time to time whether it would be beneficial for the county to do so. And I mean, aside from the legal authority, we would need some time to take a look at what would really need to be done in terms of staffing or a rental licensing program, similar to the City of Elgin Aurora. They have an entire department working with that, and it is very sophisticated with landlord training and that sort of thing. So there'd be the authority question, but then also the implementation because of the large number of properties. Our unincorporated population is around 50,000, which is the size of a large city. So, thank you.
Thank you. You know, and I think what we should do is we should look at our special event permit regulations and kind of dovetail those into what we're doing with this ordinance to, because, you know, if somebody, like, let's take that 14,000 square foot house on several acres, right? If somebody wanted to rent that house out for a short term and it was a single family that was going to be there and they wanted to have a wedding for the family member there, you know, that would theoretically be allowed, but they'd have to present, you know, how they're going to handle traffic, how they're going to handle washrooms, how they're going to handle public safety, how they're going to handle noise. And you know, you would, Mark, would be the gatekeeper for that, right? Now, take that example out on Borough Court. If they came with a special event permit request because they wanted to have a party, there'd be a lot of knocks against a situation like that because it's on a cul-de-sac. There's not any off-street part, or there's not any on-premise parking really to speak of that would hold that amount of people. And the facilities for toileting don't permit, you know, 100 people, right? So is that a fair statement that if somebody came to this house that we're hearing comment about and wanted a special event permit, that it probably would be denied?
Yeah, and a little bit more background. It's not entirely at my discretion for special event permits. We take in an application, there's insurance requirements, that it's distributed to other departments, including the sheriff's office, health department, and they provide comments. And then together, you know, we decide whether a special event permit is going to be approved or denied. One of those factors is the you know, any past issues of violations or disturbance calls to the sheriff at that property. So all those would be factored into, you know, theoretical application at this or any other location. I do agree with you. It'd be worthwhile working the state's attorney to look at, you know, if this ordinance were to move ahead, you know, what complementary changes to the special event permit, just to, you know, call out special event permit applications, you know, at short-term rental properties, to, you know, to clarify that process.
In the ballpark, how many special event applications do we get a year?
Well, less than 100, probably maybe about 100. You know, most of those are large parties or events or weddings.
Right. Okay. Any other comments or discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Linder?
I brought this up to staff earlier. It's kind of a picky little thing, but there's not really a definition of a bedroom in here. And I could see somebody who has a 2-bedroom house saying, yeah, but I have a pull-out sofa. So that's a 3rd bedroom. And we have a futon in the family room. That's our 4th bedroom.
Basement.
Yeah. So do we need to define bedrooms
It's
as?
defined in here. Bedroom means any room in the short-term rental used for sleeping accommodations.
So that would be the living room or the family room if they are sleeping people there.
But again, it's a maximum of 16, regardless
okay.
of how many if there's 20 bedrooms, they can only have 16 people. Am I wrong about that? Or am I right about that? Better way to say that. Mr. Gripe?
Just to Mr. Linder's question, I believe a bedroom also must have an egress window, so I can't stick people in a basement and call it a bedroom if there's no egress, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I think that raises a good point. When we do the application and there's going to be someone's going to go out there and view the home, right? Inspect the home? Or is that, well, the county's not going to do that, are we?
We'll be working on terms of that inspection that's provided, you know, in terms of what we want for documentation for a floor plan to determine, you know, what those sleeping areas are and that they're safe and have egress and for that. So.
Okay. Mr. Arroyo, did you have a question? Sure. Any other questions? All right, let's call the question.
Arroyo?
Arroyo, yes.
Mr. Chairman.
Were we going to amend this first?
Pardon? Oh, thank you. I need a motion to amend Exhibit A in accordance with what's on the screen. I need a motion for that.
Leonard, so moved.
Moved by Leonard, second by Arroyo. Okay, now we'll call a question on the amendment. Thank you, Steve.
On the amendment, Arroyo,
Oh, yes.
Mr. Doherty signed off. Garcia,
Garcia, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Pepe,
Pepe, yes.
Leonard, yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Williams.
Williams, yes.
It's amended. And on the amended ordinance, Arroyo,
Oh, yes.
Garcia,
Garcia, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Pepe,
Pepe, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Williams.
Williams, yes.
Passes.
Next item on your agenda is ordinance amending chapter 15 nuisance and property maintenance of the Kane County Code pertaining to noise. I would entertain a motion to approve.
Linder will move approval.
Moved by Linder, seconded by Dr. Iqbal. Any discussion? Mr. Van Kirkhoff, would you just give a quick overview of how this works?
Sure. So this, first of all, thank you to State's Attorney Ford for his work on both the resolution for amending the county code and the actual language and changing the county code. We had been working on a number of years ago, some revisions, proposed revisions, in which we worked with a consultant, and the result was very complex. So looking at other best practices from surrounding counties and municipalities, there's been quite a bit of effective enforcement based on more simple decibel levels, daytime and nighttime, recognizing the difference. So this is based on some of those better ordinances, as well, simplified. It's been shared with this sheriff's office. They've made no comment on it, to date. But again, they'd be the ones enforcing it with using decibel readers, but it's a very different approach than the current ordinance. So that's what this ordinance does, is it repeals or removes the current section on noise that's in chapter 15 is declared nuisances, and replaces it with this new appendix A based on the decibel levels.
Yeah, so the current ordinance just refers to the noise as being loud and raucous, which is really not a standard that's easy to defend in court. So we have specific standards here during the daytime, which is defined as 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Your noise from your property cannot exceed 65 decibels as measured from your property line. And then at nighttime from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m., that standard drops down to 55 decibels. So, Dr. Iqbal?
Yeah, my question is this noise level, is it a constant level that you are considering, or is it intermittent?
Well, therein you get into the details of why this is so complicated. The way that I believe this would be interpreted would be the peak. Is that correct, Steve?
I believe so, yes.
So it's not a continuous 65, it's a peak.
Peak, okay.
And then there was a speaker who talked about vehicle noise. This would not apply to vehicle noise. That's governed by the motor vehicle code. Is that correct, Steve?
That's correct.
Mr. Chairman, I guess would this apply to people just being loud?
Pardon me?
Can this apply to people just being loud?
Sure.
No music. I mean,
I give the example of my old house. My neighbor put their trampoline right by their property line, right by my deck, and their kids would jump on it for hours. I couldn't sit on my deck. So that would theoretically apply. Any other questions?
think of that.
Okay, let's call the roll.
Arroyo,
Oh, yes.
Garcia,
Garcia, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Pepe,
Pepe, yes.
Leonard,
Yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Williams, yes. The next item on our agenda is an ordinance amending chapter 15 nuisance and property maintenance of the Kane County Code to declare trespassing a public nuisance. I'd entertain a motion to approve.
Linder moves.
Moved by Linder, seconded by Arroyo.
Mr. Chairman, I need to point out that in your packets, the Exhibit A attached to this ordinance was not sure how it happened, but it's actually the same noise ordinance exhibit. So we have handout and Blair will put on the screen the actual exhibit A that ASA Ford prepared for this ordinance for a committee discussion.
So we're going to need an amendment to the ordinance. Let's handle let's handle discussion first. Dr. Iqbal.
Yeah, my question is this the first reading of this ordinance amendment, or do we need a second, or?
How does it go?
Because this doesn't amend the county board rules of order, this could pass on when it's introduced to county board. No 2 readings are required.
Okay.
I lost it. Can you repeat that, sir?
So there's a requirement in the Kane County Code where if the county board is amending its rules of order, it requires essentially 2 readings. It can't be approved on the day it's introduced.
Gotcha.
This is not an amendment to the rules of order, so that requirement wouldn't apply.
Okay.
Mr. Ford, this was prepared in conjunction with the sheriff's office. Is that correct?
It's correct. Essentially, there have been some complaints in the county about conduct that is essentially trespass. And, you know, I don't want to speak for the sheriff's office, but, you know, I believe this would give them another tool to enforce or I guess to respond to that conduct without necessarily just relying on the criminal code.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Would you please call the roll?
Mr. Chair,
Oh,
does this need its own motion and second, the amendment?
We need to amend it. I'm sorry. I need a motion to amend the ordinance.
Arroyo moves to amend.
By Arroyo,
Second.
seconded by
Linder.
Lindner. Okay, let's call the roll on the amendment.
On the amendment, Arroyo,
Arroyo, yes, on the amendment.
Garcia,
Garcia, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Pepe,
Deputy, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Williams.
Williams, yes.
Amended. And roll call on the amended ordinance, Arroyo,
Yes.
Garcia,
Garcia, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Pepe,
Deputy, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Iqbal,
Yes.
Williams.
Williams, yes. Thank you. Next is planning and special projects. Mr. Toth.
Thank you, Chairman. This is Chris Toth, Planning Division Manager. On page 164 of your packet, you'll find the November report for the Kane County Development Planning and Services Department. We do report these activities out to other committees like the Jobs Committee, E&E, and Agriculture, but I'm here to answer any questions should you have any. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Toth? Okay, thank you. Subdivision.
We have no items under subdivision or environmental resources this month.
Thank you, Ms. Walnick. Any new business to discuss? Seeing none. Ask for a motion to replace the reports on file.
Linder would move for unanimous consent to put the reports on file.
Any objection?
Objections.
Seeing none, the reports are placed on file. There's no need for an executive session. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Linder moves adjourned.
Linder moves adjournment, second.